means that we're talking about play-ins, we're talking about playoffs, we're talking about clinching spots, and that means we have to have a play-in professor in the building to help us all through it. So let's hear from Kurt Goldsberry first.
That's right, Maria. Well, what we know in the West is we know what 10 teams are going to participate after this weekend. We just don't know what the order is. However, there is growing stability at the top of the West. In fact, ESPN's BPI model gives these top 5 teams each over a 70% chance of remaining where we currently see them. That means the most interesting thing on the board out West this weekend is the race for the last guaranteed spot between the Portland Blazers and the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. Now, we think Portland has an advantage here. LA has to win both of their games, and then Denver would have to go to Portland Sunday night and beat the Blazers for the Lakers to escape the play-in. We just think that's unlikely. So we think the Lakers, from a modeling perspective, are going to be a play-in team. And they will likely play the Warriors, who host the Grizzlies in a huge game also on Sunday at home in San Francisco. So if it plays out the way we think it will, the Lakers will play the Warriors. They will begin their title defense. How about this? Not only in the play-in tournament, but in the play-in tournament against Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. How about that?
I'm all the way tuned in for that one if it does take place. Okay, we appreciate you, Kirk, and we're going to have you breaking down the East soon too. But looking ahead to Sunday's matchups, the Warriors certainly have the edge on three-pointers, ranking in the top 5 thanks to, in large part, obviously to Steph Curry. But the Grizzlies will look to punish them inside, leading the NBA in paint and second chance points per game. And as Kirk mentioned, the winner of this game will be 8th in the West. So obviously it matters. It's like a matter-of-fact play-in game, playoff game. It seems as though the end of the regular season has really spawned some fun matchups for us. But let's talk about the way that the Warriors should be approaching the end of this season. We know that tonight we're not going to see Steph, we're not going to see Andrew Wiggins, we're not going to see Draymond, because this isn't the game that matters. It's going to be on Sunday when they take on the Grizzlies.
Oh, if you're the Warriors, you want to see the Lakers. You want to see the headliner, the defending world champions, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, playing against Steph Curry in the play-in. That's what you want if you're the Warriors. That's your enthusiasm. Like, they've won 3 championships together. They understand what it's like to be the hunted. So now if they can interrupt what the Lakers are trying to do and repeat, it'd be fantastic for them.
The scary thing about them, J. Rose, is they're playing with house money.
Correct.
I mean, look, I wasn't a believer that Steph could carry this team the way he's carried them this year. It's an MVP type of performance year that he's had. The fact that they're in this situation right now, regardless of whoever they see, when you have the biggest shot maker in the game with momentum on his side, you feel like you can beat anybody.
Yeah, had you imagined a world in which we'd be talking about the Warriors even being in a race for making it into the playoffs when we started this season?
The enthusiasm of the play-in.
Okay.
That's what keeps everybody engaged. You're not hearing a lot about load management.
Okay, well, let's walk us through the Lakers, because you already heard Kirk saying it. He really believes that they're going to be in a play-in spot. He thinks they're going to be taking on the Warriors. The state of the Lakers, if you had to issue and address it, would be what, Jay Will?
Just their health. I mean, that's the biggest thing for the Lakers, right? Is their health. I mean, that's what you always question. It's interesting. If the Lakers have LeBron James and AD healthy, I think they would maybe be the favorite in every game that they played in.
Correct.
Like, and that's them as a 7th seed. Like, I want to see the Phoenix Suns. I do, especially the fact that we beat you guys. And I know it's a late game in the season, but we beat you guys without LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that in the Western Conference. And you look at the jockeying, not to take anything away from what this Phoenix team has done, but there's still a lot of young players who people haven't seen do it in the playoffs yet, so they want to test them. But for the Lakers, there's a chance they may have back all their starters, all their key players tomorrow in Indiana. Anthony Davis appears ready to go. LeBron James practiced with the team today. And Frank Vogel says if he feels good tomorrow, good chance he'll go. And then remember, Dennis Schroeder, their point guard, has been out 7 games in health and safety protocols. He worked out away from the team today, but traveled to Indiana. So they'll start to get their guys back here. But the key for this Laker team, no question, the health of LeBron James's right ankle, and certainly the health of Anthony Davis, and getting those guys at 100%. If they're at 100%, they'll take their chances coming out of the play-in and still like themselves against anybody in a best-of-7 in the West.
But there's a reason why number 7 seed has never been an NBA champion, because you have no room for error. Yeah. We saw Anthony Davis shoot a jump shot, back up, and twist his ankle. We've seen him leave a game with a groin injury. Like, freak things can happen. And so it's great, like Woj just reported, that all of the guys are going to come back. But back to what we said about Steph Curry, he can now have a game where he goes off of 45 or something, and now the Lakers are looking at do or die.
Jay Rose, don't you think LeBron James loves this? This is the same guy that last year had the hashtag Watch King. Like, oh, truncated season. I just won a championship. I didn't load manage, but now I set out a good month and a half. Let me get my. This is what LeBron James lives for.
You know what he's going to really like, Jay? Playing against the Phoenix Suns versus playing against the Utah Jazz
1,000%.
or the Los Angeles Clippers. It almost is going to work in the Lakers' favor to fall to the 7th spot to go against an inexperienced Phoenix Suns team.
Okay, let's talk about those Jazz, though. Let's go to the top of the standings in the West, because right now that's the best team in the West, and we haven't even seen Donovan Mitchell for the last 14 games, Woj.
Yeah, and Donovan Mitchell is going to sit out the rest of the regular season. Mike Conley will be back tonight for the Jazz against Oklahoma City. You know, he's had that hamstring injury. The Jazz have been able to hold on to first place and get rest and get Donovan Mitchell, their best player, healthy. And remember, too, going into the playoffs, normally you would have a 2 or 3 day window and you'd play game 1. But because of the play-in tournament, the Jazz, they almost get a mini camp, 6 days or so, where they can start to get back on the court, get Donovan Mitchell reintegrated into their chemistry, and have him healthy, have that ankle right, and then head into the postseason.
And the Jazz are 11-6 without Donovan on the floor, so they've been able to maintain and use their depth in the ways they've needed to make sure they stayed on top of the standings.
Yeah, that's great for the regular season. I think everybody gave Utah a lot of love that they have for the season, but I go back to that.
I feel like everyone hated on the Jazz all season.
Well, I was giving them the flowers. I mean, I thought they played like the best team in basketball. I don't know if
LeBron threw shade at them when they were picking the All-Star team.
True. I don't know if it translates to winning championships.
There you go.
Here comes your shade.
That's what Maria's talking about.
It's not shade. I mean, we're talking about the same thing with Phoenix. It's just interesting. I go back to that conversation Donovan had with Shaq, right? Like, Shaq's like, hey, we're waiting to see if you can. Now, it's unfair because he's coming off injury, but I think people are looking, hey, where can Donovan Mitchell take this team to new heights when he does come back off this injury?
All right, well, we'll all certainly be watching, and I know that Donovan's going to do all the right things. Super excited about the Hall of Fame enshrinement, and we will be here on Sunday at 11:30 to announce the class of 2021, and obviously the class of 81, not exactly the same luster.
No.
But it absolutely still matters, in the hierarchy of the NBA.
It's just the opposite. And for those that don't know, I was front and center as a member of the Toronto Raptors when Kobe Bryant had his historic 81-point game. Rest in peace to the Black Mamba, and keeping his legacy alive. And shout out to him being inducted into the Hall of Fame. We have a couple of plays that the coaching staffs of these teams may not be enthusiastic about. But check out this version of the class of 81. Now, James Harden just returned, right?
Yes.
He's a terrific playmaker, has great vision, right? He's head up, watching the floor. Streets is watching. You see the San Antonio Spurs in full retreat, getting back. There's no way. There's no way.
Over the top of the head.
There is no way, Jay Will. Do you see that? Hold on. Jay Will, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is not a good look. Now, James Harden is a terrific, fantastic, wonderful player. But this is a layup right here for James Harden as he picks the defense apart. The big three will be playing for the Nets tomorrow night, as Woj reported. Here we go. Next play. Check this out. Out in transition. Millsap. And now sometimes you earn your way into the class of 81, and sometimes these guys are just so very good, they put you in the class of 81. Now, Paul Millsap, not necessarily known for his passing, but check this out. This is actually a dime. How about that? Ooh. That was really impressive. That was like a John Elway when he played out in Denver. And last, but certainly not least, the Indiana Pacers. They get into their offense, and they're going to do a little dribble handoff action. But hold on. You got to communicate right here.
Come on, man.
This. How about that? And then all of a sudden, this guy could just turn the corner. But when I run it back, it's really going to trip you out. Because P.J. Tucker, you cannot tell him he's not in the Matrix, Jay. Look at this. Look at him. Now, P.J. Tucker is built like a fire hydrant. You run into that guy, you'll damage your vehicle. No way he runs into him and he goes into the Matrix. That's the class of 81. Congratulations to the Hall of Fame class. And Kobe Bryant, tomorrow in your honor, I'm going to order a martini with 81 hours.
I love that. Looking so forward. We've got Woj in the corner, so you know we can break down some NBA news. Let's start with the article that you just posted on ESPN.com, and it's really about the league's focus in trying to get as many players vaccinated as possible.
Yeah, I'm told that there's about 75% of the league's players who are currently vaccinated, and Adam Silver was on with the league's general managers last week and in recent days, pushing them to keep pushing their players to try to get more vaccinated before the postseason, even if that means the first of the vaccination shots, because the league's going to be walking a tightrope now in the playoffs. And as Adam Silver told teams, and as they well know going into the postseason, one player out for 1 week can throw the balance of the postseason off. They're not in the bubble anymore. And so we're going to see a very different postseason now for the league, and they are just determined to try to keep as many players, key players especially, on the floor in the playoffs.
And we're a little bit of a time crunch because we keep talking about 2 games for a lot of teams. We're rolling into the end of the season. There's not much time until postseason play really starts for all of this to take place.
Yeah, there's not going to be games delayed or pushed back. If there's a rash of positive tests with the team, they've got to have these finals done by July 22nd all along, knowing the Olympics are coming right on the heels of that, starting a day or two later, to allow players to go play in the Olympics. But also the league wants to get back on more of a regular schedule, more of a regular calendar next year. It's still going to be a shortened off season. So the possibility of losing players in the playoffs, they're going to keep going. And so there's a lot on the line for the league in the playoffs, but they head into the postseason again with about 3/4 of the league's players vaccinated.
Well, the COVID reality is something that we are still all living in, and obviously we've seen it affect several teams throughout the league, and this is a story that we will keep our eyes on as we advance into the playoffs. All right, let's run the floor here on NBA Countdown, see what we still have coming your way. A full hour of countdown on this wonderful Friday. In 5 minutes, we break down what may be the last 50 years. The closest difference was between George Gervin and David Thompson in the 77-78 season. We're still waiting for tip-off right now. The Golden State Warriors taking on the Pelicans. Kent Bazemore, all he's done is score 36 points in his last 2 games, his most over a 2-game span this season, which means he might have a little bit of irrational confidence.
Absolutely, Maria. And by the way, the Golden State Warriors are going to be shorthanded tonight. He's going to get an opportunity to get some buckets. But when you get a chance to play with Steph Curry, you can't help but marvel at the fact that he has a chance to win the scoring title. Let's hear what Kent Bazemore had to say early in the week about that.
49 points in 29 minutes, though, that's unreal. And we got guys hurting hamstrings trying to keep up, so.
And so that's where things kind of got socially awkward because Bradley Beal was the guy who hurt his hamstring and had to go out of the game. Now, how about this? Bradley Beal is sending those tweets while Kent Bazemore is playing the basketball game. So he knows at some point, maybe it's at halftime even, that he might see him and respond. And you know what Bazemore came out and did in the third quarter? What? He balled. How about he had 10 points in the third quarter, Jay? You know how many times he did that this year?
How many?
Twice.
Okay.
Only twice. So do you think he was looking at his phone or somebody told him that Bradley Beal was hitting him up on Twitter? And so now, look at this right here. That's how many times Bradley Beal has scored 10 plus in a quarter. Now also, Bradley Beal averages 30 points. Kent Bazemore has not scored 30 points in a game this year. That's why he's my guy, an irrational confidence guy. He didn't get drafted. Tonight when he goes into the game, he's like, I'm going to be the star. And you know what? Don't be surprised if Kent Bazemore gets you that 30 points tonight. That's why when you're watching your favorite players in the league, you're going to appreciate the superstars. I get it. But don't underestimate the irrational confidence guy. that's out there doing work as well. Kent Bazemore, this week's Irrational Confident Player of the Week.
That is such an esteemed honor, Kent Bazemore. I hope you take it to heart and give us what we need tonight in the game.
I need some buckets,
Okay,
Bazemore.
another irrationally confident team, I would say, are the Wizards, because they have one more win to be into the play-in, and I don't think we had them counted in when we started this season. Let's talk about Westbrook. He's got 16, 12, and 7 so far.
I mean, what Russell Westbrook has been able to do this year is beyond me. Triple-double, king, a guy that plays with that effort each and every night. I love watching this team.
Well, we know that the Wizards just need one more win against Cleveland, but we have a very big three-way tie for the 4, 5, and 6 seed in the East, so we need Kirk Goldsberry to come back and break it down.
When we look at the East, the top of the conference is starting to take shape. These three teams are pretty stable right here, and I even like the Hawks at 4. All they have to do is beat Houston to secure the 4 seed. The real interesting thing comes down for the race for the 5th seed between the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks. And if there's one game this weekend that's super important, it is Miami going to Milwaukee tomorrow. There's a world where Milwaukee beats them, and that opens up a window for the New York Knicks to come in if they win these 2 games and steal the 5th seed. But there's also a possibility that Milwaukee won't be playing all their guys. Miami wins that game, and that's why our ESPN BPI model really still thinks the Heat will end up 5 and the Knicks will end up 6. And that's bad news, because that would mean a likely first-round series against the Milwaukee Bucks for those New York Knicks.
All right, Kirk, appreciate you breaking it down. Now, there's another potential scenario is if the Hawks, Heat, and the Knicks finish with the same record. Now, if that happens, the Hawks would be the 4 seed because they're Atlanta. No, I'm just kidding, because they would win the Southeast Division. Miami would be the 5th seed since they won the head-to-head against the Knicks. Okay, so the East is all knotted up, and just so you guys know, the Wizards are up 12 now on top of the Cavs, so trying to get into that play-in tournament. Let's talk about that whole knotted up bunch that we have, the 4, 5, and 6. When you think about that grouping, what stands out to you?
The Miami Heat have put themselves in a great position to advance in the first round because they're playing really good basketball. The other thing that stands out to me is that your Atlanta Hawks are on their second coach this year, Nate McMillan, and they have a better record than the New York Knickerbockers. How about that for an East Coast bias? But they have been terrific this year. And for the Knicks to be a 6 seed, it still won't be a disappointment. They're going to go and play against Giannis in the first round. They probably lose in 5 or 6. But people are still celebrating, rightfully so, this Knicks season.
That's not even the question I have for the Knicks. I think the Knicks have surpassed expectations. If they were a 9 or a 10 seed, I would still applaud them for considering what their record was last year for even making the playoffs. The question I have for the Knicks moving forward is you set the bar extremely high. Where do you take it next year? Leading into it, like who can you get? Who are additions? Will R.J. Barrett continue to improve? If the Knicks have arrived, they need to continue to elevate.
Yeah, I think the Knicks will try to take a lot of big swings in the offseason.
Yes.
They've got young players who developed with Tom Thibodeau this season, and they got a lot of draft picks. And so they're going to look around and see what maybe unhappy star somewhere wants to be on the move. They'll be in that conversation. But you're right on Milwaukee, because if the Knicks play Milwaukee, what the Knicks' great advantage to teams are is they play with such force. They come at you for 48 minutes. They defend, but so do the Bucks. And I think the Bucks are more talented. They've got the 2-time reigning MVP. Listen, I don't think for the Knicks, they're going to be an easy out for anybody, but that's a much tougher matchup for them than an Atlanta team that's core has yet to be in the postseason. Their best players, Trae Young, John Collins, those players have yet to play postseason basketball. You might rather take your shot at them.
If I'm the Bucks, I'm giving that game to the Heat. Go ahead, I'm not going to play our guys. Go ahead, you can have it.
Absolutely.
Great, get in that 5 spot. We'll take the Knicks.
Well, the Knicks did go 2-1 against the Bucks in the regular season, if that does mean anything. And like you said, they do play defense. They're leading the NBA in almost every defensive statistical category you could imagine. But there is another team in New York that's also in the East. Woj, if you want to talk about them.
How about that?
Yeah, I mean, and also they're in the top of the East standings, the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, finally, for the first time in 3 months, they expect to have their big 3 on the court tomorrow night. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and of course, Kevin Durant. They've only played 7 games together all season. I was talking to Sean Marks, their GM, and the thing of getting Harden back is the impact he's had as a leader. as a player, not just uniting their three best players, but the impact, the way he has really evolved his game toward playmaking. And there's been a lot of nights, and especially when KD and Kyrie are out there, he's not worried about his scoring. And the Nets know that because of the play-in tournament going on, like Utah, we talked about earlier, they get something of a 5 or 6 day mini camp before they play game one. Mm-hmm. So if their three best players are healthy, they're on the court, they're getting some of that chemistry back. And while they don't have, they don't have necessarily the cohesion in big moments that other teams have accumulated over the season and the years, they are still the most talented team in the NBA going into the postseason.
Absolutely. Sitting at second in the East right now, 46-24 are those Brooklyn Nets, and obviously looking forward to that postseason. We are looking forward for Sunday because we got plenty of great games coming your way. The end of the regular season. The Celtics are locked in as the 7th seed and will be in the play-in tournament, but the Knicks can finish 4th, 5th, or 6th. So a W is super critical. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then this matchup is all about play-in positioning with the Grizzlies and the Warriors.
I am here for this.
Let's go. The reason why we might not be seeing Steph today is because we are going to see Steph on Sunday. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown at noon Eastern. Make sure you tune in.
My Grizzly like Ja Morant. Shout J. Cole.
I got to give you guys an update on the WNBA matchup. Liberty taking on the Fever, all knotted up at 87. Okay, Sabrina Ionescu, only 3 games a season ago.
She's
back. That's a game winner. The first game that the Barclays is hosting a WNBA matchup. Sabrina Ionescu is back. The rookie sensation that never got to play hits the game winner.
Mambacita mentality.
Absolutely.
Showed up with the Kobe Bryant jersey on the day.
And